Sometimes depicted as the greatest problem humanity has ever faced, global warming is a threat to us all. Or is it? Do some countries actually benefit from it? Does places like Canada, Northern Europe, Russia, and other currently cold regions might see certain advantages? First, global warming is somewhat a reductive term. Today, we more commonly talk about climate change, since yes, temperatures are rising, but not at the same rate everywhere. And it's not just about the temperature increase. There are more frequent natural disasters, and they are becoming harder to predict. But let's try to simplify things to get a clearer picture of what's happening. To begin with, the most basic element, food. All countries will be affected by changes in crop production. Crops need 4 essential things: CO2, water, sunlight, and an optimum temperature. Aside from sunlight, all of these factors will be impacted by climate change. The increase of CO2 in the atmosphere actually benefits many plants during their growing stages. Also, this varies depending on the crop. For example, wheat will benefit much more from increased CO2 than maize. However, water scarcity or overabundance can have a clear negative impact. And temperature also plays a critical role. As temperatures rise, the optimal latitude for various crops shifts northward. This means northern countries might see positive impacts on crops like wheat, but not on maize. Meanwhile, countries further south are expected to experience more negative impacts, even so short-term effects may seem positive. Now let's zoom in on desertification and water scarcity. Not all countries are affected equally by desertification and water shortages. Some might even remain relatively unaffected. This map shows us how different regions will be impacted. Soil degradation is a global phenomenon, but desertification, a consequence of soil degradation, hits some places harder than others. Central Asia, particularly Mongolia and China, as well as Australia, large part of Africa, South America, and Southern Europe are among the hardest hit. In contrast, places like Canada, Russia, and Northern Europe, while still affected by climate change, might become more habitable as colder areas warms up. While new zones will become suitable for human habitation, other areas will become uninhabitable, which leads us to mass migration. As a result, mass migrations are expected. Populations in increasingly uninhabitable regions will be forced to move to survive. Here is a map of global population density by latitude. It shows that the Tropic of Cancer is the most populous region, but it also where land is becoming progressively less livable, if not entirely uninhabitable. Additionally, equatorial regions, particularly in Africa, have the highest population growth. Africa's population, for example, is projected to grow from 1.4 billion people to approximately 4.1 billion. Water scarcity, desertification, and declining agricultural yields will likely intensify migration toward northern, safer lands. This often leads to conflict in the host country, as seen in Europe and North America. And even if your country doesn't seem to be impacted by climate change, it may still face indirect effects through migration and related social tensions. We should of course note that problems like desertification, while very serious, do not occur over a few years, but over decades or even centuries. And now, new habitable lands. The newly habitable lands in the north will gradually become arable over time, making resources more accessible. But this shift also brings unexpected challenges. One example is the melting of permafrost. As the permafrost thaws, it can lead to the destabilization of the ground, which, combined with other factors like deforestation, may cause phenomena such as the Bataiga crater, a massive sinkhole formed by collapsed ground. In this short video, I aim to simplify a subject that is, of course, much more complex. To conclude, will some countries actually benefit from climate change? Probably not in the long term, but some will certainly be far better off than others.